Good morning. We are live. We are live. There's been a lot of things that have been going on in the last few days that has everybody really super concerned, super upset. Two of the biggest ones have been Elon Musk's invasion of the U.S. Treasury and the closing of USAid. We're going to talk about how those things are actually one and the same, the motivations behind them, what the problems are. For the lack of a better way to put it, conspiracy theories about this, because conspiracy theories are running rampant right now. People that really didn't understand or know what was going on really felt nothing held them back from going out and telling the whole world just what they thought was going on and their worst fears, talking about them as they were actually happening. Well, we're actually finding out some of the things that are actually happening. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it, and let's talk about where this leaves us. All right, folks, let's start with the Treasury Department. The Treasury Department put this out last night. What they're trying to do is trying to calm everybody down because the conspiracy theories have just gone nuts. And they wanted to give some people some sense of we're going to survive this. It's not as bad as you think. It's going to be okay. I came out of this with a confirmation of all the things that I feared was happening are actually happening. But the gist of this is they're telling you that Elon Musk does not have access to the Treasury's payment systems, as in command and control. He does not control who's getting paid or what. There was a lot of, I know you've seen this on social media, especially people out there claiming that, oh, he's cut off payments for contracts. He's cut off payments for this, that, and the other. None of that is happening. None of that is happening. He does not have command and control over our U.S. Treasury payment systems. What they are telling us, though, is he does have absolutely read-only access to everything. And what is worse, what is awful, what is horrific is, he's sharing that data. That is payment information, banking information. He's sharing that data, and we know it for a fact because old Mike Flynn couldn't keep his mouth shut. He had to run to social media, and he had to post this post that a lot of people just didn't understand. And it's what actually spurred me to talk about this today, and how bad the damage actually is here. Mike Flynn put this post out. Now it's the, quote, Lutheran, unquote, faith. And then in parentheses, he puts this use of, quote, unquote, religion as a money laundering operation must end. Lutheran Family Services and affiliated organizations receive massive amounts of taxpayer dollars and yada, yada, yada. Elon Musk responds to, the Doge team is rapidly shutting down these illegal payments. If you know anything about intelligence, if you know anything about our intelligence gathering, you know this is bad. I mean, this is really bad. And a lot of people look, folks, you don't have time to keep track of this. You're not spooks. You're not spies. You're not in the news media. You've got lives. You do things. You're doctors, you're lawyers, you're nurses, you're people out there working, firefighters, EMTs. You do things. This is not your wheelhouse. So seeing that rather cryptic, kind of off the wall sounding tweet probably doesn't hit home as hard for you as it did for me. Peter, thank you, Texas Paul. We need your mic on more than ever. Keep it up. Hey, thank you for supporting the show. I mean, $100 is a lot of money, brother. I appreciate you. Scary that the neo-Nazis have our private information. That is true, and they are sharing it. As you see, Mike Flynn has been given access to the payments that were coming out of USAid. This is why it's a problem. And for you to fully understand, we've got to talk about intelligence a little bit and how it works. And we're going to have to come back to a few things. I'm not the only one that's figuring out that this is what a major problem this is. Folks are starting to talk about it. And before the narratives get out of control, I want to put some good information out there. And yes, we're going to talk about some hypotheticals today. Yeah, but these are the things that are damaging, and you'll understand why we're talking about them in hypotheticals when we get there. USAID shutdown isn't just a humanitarian issue, it's a threat to American interests. Exactly. As awful as it looks to have the world's richest man, and we talked about it in the show the other day, starving kids to death, shutting down hospitals. As awful as those optics are, it's worse. It's worse. To understand, you got to really understand what, our interests and our opposition. Oh, pooty poot. Y'all saw what happened in the last Trump administration. You saw what happened with Helsinki. You saw Donald Trump go against our own intelligence organizations, the CIA, etc. We're going to lump them all in today. And take Putin's side. Well, Pooty Poot told him that the Russians weren't getting involved in our elections. Of course, we know that's not true. We know that they utilized the data that they put together from Cambridge Analytica to go into our social media platforms and spread disinformation, misinformation, manipulate people, on and on and on and on. But you saw Donald Trump taking Pooty Poot's side. That's just put a pin in that. We're going to come back and talk about it more. There's a lot of people that have a lot of questions about the legality of Doge and who's accessing what and what clearances they have. And that is going to be the cracks that the Democrats in Congress dig their nails into, because so much of this is happening via executive order that they're limited in scope as to what they can do. That is one of the cracks they're going to be able to dig their fingernails into so that they can get into this fight full on. That and the Impoundment Act are their doors in. So let's talk about intelligence. There are two kinds of intelligence, basically. There's SIGINT, which is short for signals intelligence, and HUMINT, which is short for human intelligence. Russia and us went two different directions. Now, if you go back and watch, like, one of my favorite movies, this is a good way for you to digest this spy stuff, okay? If you go back and watch one of my favorite movies is Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. It's set in a period of time back in the last century, where there really wasn't much signals intelligence. There wasn't much SIGINT to gather. There were some phone taps and things like that. But for the most part, the spy game was face to face, human to human. Human was 99% of it. That changed in our modern digital era. And we saw it coming. We embraced it. The CIA, all of our intelligence gathering organizations, all of them embraced signals intelligence. And it has paid off in spades. It has absolutely frustrated Putin and the Russians to death because they went the opposite direction. They stayed heavily invested in human intelligence. And for a while there, in some situations, it looks like we may have made a mistake. But you kind of have to understand how these things work to understand just how effective we are. Because it's not, remember, intelligence isn't just gathering information, it's the analysis of information and it's acting on it. So let's talk about it a little bit. This is what most people think when they think about CIA influence, because this is what Hollywood tells them. You know, the CIA, they go in, they bribe people, and there are big server rooms at the CIA that just has lists of people and networks and yada, yada, all, you know, that would be the stupidest possible way in the world to operate utilizing signals intelligence. It just would. Yes, there are big servers at the CIA. Yes, they analyze data, but that's not how they work. A more accurate depiction is this guy. And again, we're using hypotheticals here, so I'm using as our iconography. Our CIA operative is represented here by the great Seymour Hoffman, taken from his character in Charlie Wilson's War. This is more accurate at what the CIA looks like. And we're going to come back to this several times. I want you to keep this in mind. You've got a guy at the CIA that's got an objective. What's the best way to get that objective done? Well, I tell you, the hardest and least effective way is, let's say, take the Middle East, where we're not that popular, would be to try to get human assets in on the ground to do your work, to represent you and your interests. A much smarter, and the way they do it, frankly, a much better way to do it is to get people that are already doing things that serve your interest and keep tabs on them and kind of help steer the situation. That way you've got people out there that you haven't put your fingerprints on. You know, the old myth expression that, like, when you touch a butterfly's wings, that, you know, it can't fly anymore, that kind of thing. You limit your exposure. Are you following me so far? Cheryl Elkins, educating the people right now is really important. Thanks for digging in. No, thank you for supporting the show. I appreciate it. Couldn't do it without you. So what do you need if you're our CIA and you want to, say, hypothetically, the Middle East? What do you need? What assets do you have to make things go your way? Well, you've got to have people acting in your interests. And you're going to need funding. And one way to get funding, and this is where USAid comes in. This is where USAid comes in, and why Mike Flynn's tweet is as bad as it is. You notice he goes after Lutheran charities. So if you want to influence something, charities are a great way to do it. And again, we're not talking about the CIA coming in and infiltrating charities and influencing what they're doing. And no, they're much smarter, much more effective than that. You have situations where you need people to handle, you've got a crisis on the ground. Charities are a great way in, and I'll explain how. First thing you need is you're going to need funding to support those charities and their interests. And in this environment, thanks for the support, Lori Yates. I appreciate you. In this environment, how do you get that? Because, you've got the Democrats that are good-hearted folks. Again, and it's not like the Democrats are on board with this, making this happen. Please keep in mind, every group of people we talk about, these are people acting in their own interests. The charity organizations are really there to help people. That's what they're really trying to do. But you need to get them money if you want to extend your interest. And stick with me. It's going to get a little complicated, but you can follow this. You're an above average group. You can follow this. You're going to need money. And how do you get that money? Well, in this day and age, it's difficult. You've got like I said, Democrats are always fighting for good causes. They're always fighting to help with humanitarian aid. They just are. It's just who they are. How do you get Republicans on board? Catherine Ryan called Congressman Stephen Lynch from Massachusetts, who was named to the DOG subcommittee, and spoke to the lead staffer who told me that Democrats are working behind the scenes. They are. They are. Absolutely. They are working. If you wanted to influence, say, a Republican congressman, all you would need is really signals intelligence to know what that congressman wants and needs and is doing. Say you found out that there's a congressman or a senator that is, I don't know, engaging in drug sex orgies. And again, this is how brilliant they are. They don't go to these compromised congressmen and blackmail them. They don't. They don't have to. They know what their interest is. And they know, if you know what someone's interest and desire is, you can woo them to do that in serving your interest. And let me explain what I mean there. David Tyler, our government is being pillaged by the world's richest welfare queen. Amen, brother. Amen. Sherry, thank you for the support. I appreciate it. I really do. I really do. This happened. You remember us talking about it in a previous show. I'm going to mix in hypotheticals with real things that happened so that you can understand. Johnson aide discouraged Hutchinson's subpoena over concerns about lawmakers' sexual texts. Okay. Why would Republican lawmakers be sending sexual texts to this beautiful young staffer? Come on, people. We're all grown-ups here. This show is literally flagged not for children. Why would they be sending sexual texts to her? I mean, would you or anybody you know just send graphic sexual text to somebody you don't know? Bingo. There's something going on there, right? Thanks, Vincent. I alluded to this the other day when we talked about this story on the show. There's something going on there. We don't know exactly, but we know what's going on, and it's weird. I mean, we've got senators saying crazy stuff like this. John Kennedy the other day, for some reason, went on a rant about sex and omelets. When they were talking about what Elon Musk is doing, John Kennedy just, for some reason, decided to say, I could eat an omelet at every meal. I like omelets better than sex. And then went on to tell everybody to stop bothering him about all the things that we don't like is going on, and to call somebody who cares.
To my friends who are upset, I would say with respect, call somebody who cares. They better get used to this. It's USAID today. It's going to be Department of Education tomorrow.
And you can see these are not morally the strongest of people. These are people that could be manipulated, that could serve your interests. And if you're our friend in the CIA and you want somebody to say that isn't, say, inclined to give funding to charity, I mean, think about that. I mean, think about John Kennedy there and how little he cares. Children are literally dying because of this, and he don't care. He's telling everybody, call somebody who cares. This is not a pillar of Christianity and moral fortitude there. This is a guy that just is flat out telling everybody, my interests are what I care about. Call somebody else. What you care about, I don't care. So how do you get people like that? If you've got, say, I don't know, a charity that you'd like to see get some funding so they could continue operations in an area that you're interested in, how do you make that happen? I don't know. Maybe send them on a junket to the Middle East, arrange for a junket in the Middle East where they can go with their favorite staffer. I mean, we know they're sexting their staffers. Look, let me tell you something. And this is a completely whole cloth put together image by me. This is an AI generated staffer there. That is Marco Rubio, that I'm just using him as an example. And this is actually comes from a picture of him with Netanyahu on a trip to the Middle East. These trips happen all the time. This is, again, a hypothetical. But it is the least kept secret in Washington, D.C., that there are politicians screwing their staffers, that there are staffers that have jobs and are making their way up the frickin' hill on their backs. That's really happening. Madison Cawthorn wasn't lying when he said he was invited to drug sex orgies and that he knows congressmen doing cocaine. And yeah, he wasn't lying. They ran him out on a rail because he said that stuff. But if you wanted to influence, say, I don't know, any congressman or any senator, send them on a junket to see the work they're getting done through your charity on a trip without their wife, with their favorite staffer. And suddenly they got a vested interest in that funding and that charity work continuing to happen. And you've blackmailed no one. You've touched no one. You've bribed no one. You've just taken people whose interests you know about, and you've made those interests serve you. Religious organizations and their desires to do charity work, and you're not involved. Sick, disgusting, pathetically immoral politicians and their desire to have free trips with their favorite staffers and government paid for hotels where they've got an excuse to be away from their wife. And suddenly they want this to continue. Are you following me here? Are you following me here? This is not, I mean, they are masters at this. Just masters at this. So once you've got your charity organization, Barbara, thank you for the support. I really appreciate you. Once you've got your charity organization up and going, you've got your funding through USAid. USAID's writing checks. What do you need now? Well, you need people on the other end that aren't on your team, aren't on your side. How do you get them? Well, it's not that hard, surprisingly. What are their interests? They want to control that aid. They want to go to their people and say, we're going to make sure that those Westerners, those evil Westerners, aren't profiting, that they're not the ones that are sending you the aid. So you go to, I don't know, a cleric, and you say, you know what, just to make sure we're above board, what we're going to do is we're going to have our charity agree to oversight from you, Mr. Cleric. You're a well-known cleric that everybody loves and trusts. We want you to be on the board that oversees all of this. And again, you haven't bribed him. You haven't convinced him to work against his own interests. He's very literally looking out for his own people. So how do you get him on board? Well, it's really not that hard. You just go to your cleric and you say, you know, just to make sure that the contracts aren't shady and they're above board, the last guy we dealt with, what he did, now you do what you want to do, but what he did was he set up a holding company. And within that holding, if you don't know what a holding company is, it's a company that owns other companies. And within that holding company, he set up a trading company that bought and sold grain contracts. And our charity is more than willing to buy your grain just to make sure that it's not Westerners that are manipulating. You'll control the grain trade. And you'll control what goes in those sacks of aid. Marcia Klepper, thank you for the support. And again, you haven't bribed him. It's a legitimate transaction. That charity is going to buy aid. They're going to buy it on the world market. Your interests, your people with power, forgive me, your people with power in the regions legitimately want to make sure this is all above board, right? So now they've got a holding company and trading company several distances apart from all that filthy Western money. And your cleric is showing up, I don't know, wearing an $8,000 Omega watch, which is something that actually really happened. I took some real pictures and spliced them together here just to make a point and how this serves not our interest, but their interest, and why their interests suddenly align. Just like that congressman or senator that suddenly really cares about that aid getting to where it needs to go. And remember, this is all above board, right? We're talking about getting aid to where it needs to go. Yes, this is really al-Baghdadi. Yes, he really showed up and took a lot of shit because he was wearing an $8,000 watch. Your cleric, whoever it is, now has a financial vested interest and is making money. And what does that do for him on the ground? It makes him a superstar. It's just like the churches here. You've got these mega pastors that are super rich, and within the pastor community, they're superstars because all the other pastors want to be them. They want to be riding in the Mercedes. They want to wear the $8,000 watch. And none of them think anything of it because he's doing the good thing. He's making sure that all of that aid is above board. And he's not even being greedy about it, because when they try to charge too much or get greedy, they just get a little warning that says, hey, you know what? If you do that, it looks like bribery instead of just doing business. And if shit goes wrong, they'll kill you. If you just keep it at market prices, you've done nothing wrong. But all of the sudden, that cleric has a real personal vested interest in that aid getting to where it's going. 100%. And remember, our guy back at the CIA has bribed no one. He has put his fingers on nothing. He is blackmailing no one. Yet he's getting everything he wants. And this has made Putin furious. This is something that Putin, having come from the KGB, hates with a monstrous, horrid, hotter than a white sun passion. And I got to tell you, that is what is behind the killing of USAid in my conspiracy theory here. Because all of this aid, go back and take a look at what Mike Flynn says. He's talking about Lutheran charities, which is freaking weird, right? I mean, why? What's your problem? Why wouldn't? Well, this is kind of why. Who would understand how this works? Who would understand how this influence is carried more than the former director of military intelligence? He knows what the fuck he's doing. He knows what he's killing. He knows. He's the former director of military intelligence. He absolutely knows what he's doing. And he, just to give you an idea of who he is, just a reminder of this old Jim. This is Mike Flynn, you see, pictured here in the center of the screen. And Jill Stein, here, all sitting at a table. There's Dmitry Peskov, Putin's spokesman. There's Alexei Gromov, Putin's deputy chief of staff. Who's this freaking guy right here? Holy shit, that's Vladimir Putin himself. No, this is not a doctored image. This is not something that I put together with people. This is Mike Flynn sitting at the right hand of Vladimir Putin, our former director of military intelligence, who absolutely knows that by killing USAid, you are absolutely killing our intelligence apparatus, the CIA's ability to wield influence, which they've done so deftly, so brilliantly, by making everyone serve their own self-interest and getting our interest out there and getting it done without us having to put our big American hands on everything. We talked about Sudan. We've got no one that we're backing in that fight. But what do we do in the country? Aid. Aid. That's gone. That's gone. And Mike Flynn and Elon Musk know exactly what they're doing. Let's expand on this just a little bit more and how it works and how we're not the ones that are using it for nefarious intent. ET, thanks for the support. I always love how you big picture stuff without making your audience eyes glaze over. We need more like you doing this. Hey, I appreciate you folks sitting here and spending your time with me. Y'all remember this image? You saw this with your own eyes. You know this happens. Aid trucks come into Gaza. We'll use this one as an example. This happens all over the world. Aid trucks come into Gaza. Hamas picks certain trucks and they grab them and they keep them for themselves. All right, put a pin in that. Now, if you wanted to be able to move stuff, wouldn't that be a great way to do it? I mean, wouldn't it be a great way to do it? Hamas is deeply invested in making sure that that aid comes out of Egypt. Now, you remember Egypt it's run by al-Sisi, who is a quasi-ally of ours, but he is also an ally of just about every. I mean, he's really a windsock. He's not our guy. And that aid comes through Egypt. And again, we just talked about how the aid is controlled and manipulated. Well, if you wanted to move something nefarious, and you wanted to make sure that is how things came and went, I mean, you'd have a vested interest in making sure that those aid trucks were the aid trucks that made it through, right? I mean, you would do things like this. I mean, you would say when the U.S. built a massive dock to move aid in, you'd want to do everything you possibly could to make sure that that dock was a failure, right? Because you want to control that aid and you want to control where that aid comes from so that your people can do what you need to do. And look, let me explain how easy this is to come up with a shipment system that's way more secure than UPS. Because let me tell you something, your UPS driver isn't going to die or kill someone over your package, but these Hamas fighters absolutely will. And this is how easy it is. You stick the receiver of an AK-47 in one sack of grain, you bring it through one of those aid trucks and you tell them to grab that aid truck. You bring that aid truck to your Hamas loading area. Then when you're unloading it, oops, you spill open that one sack of grain and that AK-47 receiver falls out on the ground. And you tell all of them, shh. You don't tell your wives. You don't tell nobody. You didn't see anything. And you pick up your receiver and you leave. From that point on, every one of those fighters will die to take and protect any shipment you tell them to. And even though you tell them, shh, they're going to tell every other one of their brethren what they saw and how smart they are because they're getting their stuff on the aid trucks. And to make sure that those are the only aid trucks that are going in, you get your people to go out and, we had a dock set up to deliver aid. And this is what they did with the aid. They went to the people and they told them, you want it with or without sound? It's in Arabic. Your choice. I'll play it with sound. This is what they did. This is the message they sent their people.
هاي المساعدات تنحط بكيس اسود زي هذا، اوكي؟ وبتنحط ثواني اورجيك وين، وبترتمي في الجماعه اللي زي هذه. هذه مكانها واحد. That's
right. People that were starving, they threw that shit in the trash. Because they didn't want the above board Joe Biden military delivered aid that they couldn't control. No, they wanted the aid that came through Egypt. Are you following me here? That's how this happened. Y'all remember this guy, Bashar al-Assad? He was just opposed in Syria. Well, Syria had been under just everyone's boot. They had no business. They sanctions were everywhere. They should have collapsed years ago. Why didn't they? Captagon. Arab cocaine, basically. This is your Arab crack. We've talked about this in a previous show, the Captagon trade. And every Hamas fighter that they keep killing and finding has veins and pockets full of Captagon. How do you imagine that Captagon gets into Gaza for those Hamas fighters? It's illegal. How do you think Iran has so much influence? Yeah. Why do you think Hamas grabs certain trucks with dozens of armed men, specific trucks? How do you think it gets there? And why do you think they reject aid that comes directly from us? It's not just that they hate us. I don't give a damn. If you're starving to frickin' death, you're going to eat, man. Why the hell do they do it? So they can make sure that aid keeps flowing through Egypt. Again, their interests. They serve their interests. And this is what's happened since then. This is why I say it's very complex. This isn't something that your layperson can know about or even keep track of. I mean, your eyes would just glaze over. You try to live your life, take care of your kids, do your job, keeping track of all this, you'd go crazy. We've got, remember Ahmed al-Shara, and I told you that he was extremely closely tied to Turkey. Turkey and Iran are at loggerheads. Turkey is seizing control of influence in the region. One of the ways they're doing it is they're undercutting Iran's ability to fund all of these radical groups. And how did they fund these radical groups? The illegal drug trade. So you've got people like King Hussein in Jordan. You've got the Saudis. Everybody super happy about al-Shara breaking up the illicit Syrian drug trade, which cripples Iran and their ability to influence because they used the illicit drug trade and the drugs themselves to empower and control these radical groups like Hamas and all of these crazy ass insane terrorist groups. And they've lost that influence. Turkey is 100% making sure, because let me tell you something. Normally when you destroy a drug trade in a place that's like, you're a dead man. And al-Shara is doing fine. Turkey has his back. He just took a trip to Saudi Arabia without fear because the Saudis love that he's doing this. But again, they would manipulate and utilize aid. And it's not the charities that are doing it. They're not involved at all. Fuck you. And you're gone forever. And you're not, the Lutheran charities are not involved. The charities that are sending aid through Gaza are not involved. The people that are funding all of this are not involved. You just got to have somebody you can control to slip what you need in, and you've got a delivery system better than UPS. And our intelligence organizations the CIA, they know how this works. And they've been incredibly successful in coming in on the right side of history, utilizing and manipulating these systems. And it's working, folks. It's working. Putin is allied with Iran. Putin was allied with Syria. Syria's collapsed. Iran is in deep trouble. You've got Ahmed al-Shara calling Iran out directly. So what's happened here? They're doing things like this. Ask yourself, who does it serve? I got good news and I got bad news about this stuff. Good news is that it's about less than 1% of the workforce that are taking these buyouts. It is less than 1%. Unfortunately, it looks like the ones that are taking the buyouts were the people that were near retirement, are most experienced employees. And if you wanted to damage the CIA, what's the best way to do it? Destabilize it, threaten their futures, and offer your most effective employees a way to take the next 6 months off, get paid for it, and still get their retirement paperwork in. Because that's who's taking advantage of these buyouts. It's people that it's not going to hurt financially. Fortunately, the good news is that our institutions are still strong. They're not taking this. Even at USAid, they put them all on vacation. They didn't fire anybody. They just said, go on vacation. They shut USAid down by putting everybody on vacation. And the Republicans don't care. People like John Kennedy, they're good with it. They're good with it. They don't care that it's a crime. John Kennedy came out and said, yes, technically what Trump's doing is against the law, but I like what he's doing, so okay. And they're playing right into Putin's hands. They're playing right into Putin's hands. Sarah Davis says, thank you for all your knowledge and being here for us. No, thank you for being here. We're a community. We're a community. We've got to get information out there and do it together. They are playing right into Putin's hands. 100%. Our advantage, what we've been doing to beat Putin, this cuts it off at the knees. This ability to influence things without actually putting your fingerprints on it, it was vital to the way we did business. Signal intelligence is great, but it's damn near useless if you can't act on it. It's damn near useless if you can't act on it. And we had become so adept on acting on it without actually, again, bribing anyone, without causing people, getting people, not manipulating some. We're not going into countries and say, hey, betray your people. No, we're saying, hey, do right by your people. Be the one that controls these contracts. We've gotten really, 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 really sophisticated and good at this. And they know what they're doing. The former director of military intelligence knows what it means when he puts a tweet out saying, these charities are all their crimes. They're money laundering. He knows what he's saying. It's a threat. It is outing are sensitive intelligence operations on fucking Twitter. This is happening also. Trump announces withdrawal from UN human rights body and halt to funding for all Palestinian refugees. Again, it's not just the Palestinians, it's Africa also. It's how we influence people. When there's no good side, I've told you, I've said it 1,000 times. We have to get over having to have a good guy. Russia does not have that problem. Our enemy does not have that moral quandary. When there's no good guys saying we won't get involved, we do it this way. We do it this way. Without the icky having to be involved, we get these people to act in our interests this way. Jan Rankenberg, 3 special elections coming up in the House. What's up? Yep, we're going to talk about that. But I just wanted to be clear what is happening with USAid, what's happening with why, and what's happening in the Treasury Department. A lot of people, rightfully so, are worried, oh man, my banking information is there. They urged everybody, go paperless, go direct deposit. And Elon Musk has access to all of it. But here's the problem. That's millions of people. And he really doesn't really care about your payment. He doesn't. Ask yourself what a guy that is so deeply tied to our enemies, that's willing to do things like betray Ukraine and cut off their access to Starlink because Putin tells them to. A guy that, we suddenly have Starlink terminals being, they wipe out Russians on the battlefield and they find Starlink terminals with the Russians that Elon said, oh, no, no, not us, no. We know that they're being bought via proxy in Europe and shipped into Russia, and they're not supposed to be able to operate in that area, but here they are. What is our backup? Musk, if after YT, Blue Sky, etc. Folks, that's it. That is it. That is the scary prospect is right now you've got enough Republicans that aren't 100% on board with just letting anything and everything happen. That could change. And we're going to talk a little bit about what we got to do to make sure that things keep going the right way and they don't shut us all down. Andrew Orton here's a condensed version. It's hypocritical to complain about foreign aid while supporting the use of tax dollars to build condos in Gaza, especially after initially advocating for no war. Yep, that's where we're going. A perfect segue to where we're going now. Trump just did this. And I do apologize. I told you we're going to play his face and you're going to hear his voice as little as humanly possible. And I'm sticking to that. But this is him saying it in his own words. And it's critical to what we're talking about.
The only reason the Palestinians want to go back to Gaza is they have no alternative. It's right now a demolition site. This is just a demolition site. Virtually every building is down. They're living under fallen concrete that's very dangerous and very precarious. They instead can occupy all of a beautiful area with homes and safety, and they can live out their lives in peace and harmony instead of having to go back and do it again. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the.
So yeah, he went on to explain. They asked him who's going to live there, and he said, well, the people that live there, they're going to go live someplace else. Beautiful. It's going to be beautiful with houses, and no freaking clue. but the people of Gaza are gone. They're going to, this is ours now. This is our problem now. The President of the United States, just like he said he was going to annex Greenland, just like he said he was going to, take the Panama Canal, has now committed us to taking over Gaza. And he has very clearly said that he is going to ethnically cleanse Gaza. And when asked who's going to live there, his answer was the people of the world. The people of the world are going to live there. They're going to build frickin' Trump hotels on the oceanfront property there in Gaza. That's what's going to happen. And yes, where are all the people who were protesting Biden and Harris about Gaza? Where are they? Trump just openly told you they're going to ethnically cleanse Gaza, standing right next to Benjamin Netanyahu. They're going to ethnically cleanse Gaza, and they're going to develop it. Thank you for the support, Susan. Where are those protests? Where are those people that were out there screaming Genocide Joe when we Democrats were very open? Kamala Harris sat down with Rashida Tlaib and explained, this is an election. I cannot betray Israel. Israel was our ally, has always been our ally. They will be our ally in the future. After Benjamin Netanyahu's gone, they will be our ally. So no, we can't just betray Israel for you because you want us to. They will continue to be our ally. What we will do is we will stop selling Israel dumb bombs. Big, massive 2,000-pound dumb bombs. We'll quit selling them that so that they can't level. We're not the hands on who's leveling Gaza. And once we have power, we will end this conflict and we will start negotiations with Jordan, with Egypt, with the Palestinian people, with Israel, and we will come up with a homeland for the Palestinian people, a real homeland. But instead, you wanted to call him Genocide Joe. Instead, you didn't, you wanted to put Trump in power. Well, congratulations. Congratulations. This is what you've got. You've got Donald Trump telling you to your face, he's going to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians out of Gaza, and he's going to develop it. They're going to develop it. He's going to make a lot of money, and they're going to bring people in, and they're going to sell them oceanfront condos on what used to be Palestinian land. Congratulations. You were so fucking smart. Mr. Knutson, thank you. Appreciate the support, my brother. Those on the left who sat home over Gaza should be ashamed. We warned them this would happen. Beachfront property, 1.8 million into the desert. That's exactly right. The Egyptians, let me explain what this means in real terms. Okay? The Egyptians don't want the Palestinians. The Jordanians, they don't want the Palestinians. And here's why. It upsets the balance of power. If you move a group of people, 1.8 million people, into those countries, you upset the balance of power. And they don't want that. And they're not going to allow it. This is the death warrant for the Palestinian people. It is everything I fought against for decades. Elections have consequences, and I begged you not to do this. Where are you? Where are you now? Thank you, Jason Ray. I appreciate the support. Goodbye, Mark. Don't ever come back. You can support the Palestinian people and you can support Israel. There is a left in Israel that isn't Benjamin Netanyahu. Crazy Cat Queen. That's a great question. That is a great question. But yeah, Trump is going to do this. And those idiots, like you just saw, are doubling down. Well, we were right. We were right. They're doubling down. I want you to think about that because we've got special elections coming up that I want you to know about. We've got the Florida's 1st and 6th district in 55 days. We have a special elections in Florida. We talked about how everything's shifted. Everything's flipped. Going forward, everything has flipped. We just took a Trump plus 21 seat in Iowa in a special election a couple days ago. We have special elections coming up in Florida. We have special elections coming up in New York. And we've got a Supreme Court special election coming up in Wisconsin. And we can change the face of our politics. We can. We can change the face of our politics. And this right here. Where's Jill Stein now? Where are the don't vote for the Democrats folks now? I'll tell you that they're doubling down 100%. And you haven't heard anything out of Jill Stein. You know, we showed you her sitting right next to Putin. She served her purpose. Well, guess what? Special elections are coming up. All of a sudden, you got people like Yashar Ali and all of them suddenly making noise again about how right they were. They didn't do anything wrong. They were right to call him Genocide Joe. They were right to tell people not to vote. All of a sudden, they're crawling out of the woodwork with a special election 55 days down the road. Don't fall for it, people. Don't be fools. Don't be fools. You see what is waiting for the Palestinian people. They're telling you to your face they're going to ethnically cleanse them. And they're going to take their land. Standing next to Benjamin Netanyahu. Blue Lady, kudos to my fellow Georgians who are protecting in Atlanta right now. Thank you. Yeah, people are standing up. People are protesting. People are really fed up. The Democrats, you know, we nominated Malcolm or selected Malcolm Kenyatta as our vice chair. We've got a new chairman. The fight is on, folks. The fight is on. What we need is you. That's what we need. William G. Atheist, the trouble, some issue, what is going on at Treasury, all the rest is a distraction. Musk is stealing right underneath your nose. They're crippling us. They're making us a third-rate power. That's what they're doing. It's way worse than I wish it was stealing. I wish it was. It isn't. They're going to gut the CIA of our most experienced employees. They are. That's what this whole buyback thing is. And believe me, it's not about the budget. It's not about shrinking the government. USAid has a $50 billion budget. $50 billion out of $6 trillion. It's nothing. It's not even a percent. Politically Musing with Amy Emanuel. Are the protests at noon today legit? I have not gotten on the protest wagon because I'll be honest with you, I saw a lot of people come out with the stolen election thing that were just fucking grifters. So it's made me pause in what I support and what I come out and stand behind. When I see people just flat out lying to people and giving them bad information and manipulating them, just trying to get money out of them and to serve their purposes, because I'll tell you, to be honest with you, a big, bad, violent protest would serve Donald Trump's purpose right now just perfectly. So I'm going to say what you're never supposed to say. I don't know. I don't know if they're legit or not. I do know I admire the hell out of the people that are standing up and are going out there. My advice would be, don't give them an excuse. Watch out for those provocateurs like we saw. We saw Christian nationalists and white supremacists the last time Trump was in office and the last time we had protests. We had agitators that were on their side, that were shooting at cops, that were burning police stations, that were absolutely the source of violence, trying to give Trump the excuse to crack down on people. Thank you for the support, Ann. I really appreciate you. I would be very, very careful about these protests. I would, because they want it. They want it. They want that optic. They want big, bad Trump coming to crack down on them damn commie protesters that are setting their cities on fire, and he ain't going to have it. He ain't going to have it. You'd have every MAGA jackass jerking off to that for the next 10 years. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Kemp. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Why should we vote in elections that we know are rigged? Because they aren't. They aren't. If they were rigged, it wouldn't have been a 50-50 election. We wouldn't have won the races that we won. Lori Yates, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Texas Paul, for what you truly do. I'm telling you, 55 days. Do you know what happens if we flip even one of those seats? Hell, just getting close is a titanic shift. Republicans can no longer sit there like that repugnant, nasty-ass John Kennedy and say, I don't give a shit. I don't care. I'm telling you, there are so many challenges. And that's the beautiful part. That is the beautiful part. The lawsuits are moving. Everyone is all on decks fighting. I just desperately need you to understand this is more than just stealing. This is more than just finding out your banking information. Because I'll be honest with you, they don't care. They really don't care. They do care about undercutting our abilities. They do care about undercutting our country. You know, Elon Musk has said openly, he is pissed. He wants revenge for what happened to apartheid. He has come out and just ranted and raved about how USAid was responsible for toppling the apartheid government in South Africa. He has come out and said, this is all fair game because of what we did to his beloved South Africa. Amen, Jason. Amen. Check out who you're supporting. Okay? There's a reason I'm not asking you to hit the streets. There's a reason I'm asking you to get involved with the Democratic Party and to make a difference in the upcoming elections. It ain't sexy. It ain't selling you that you're going to be a hero that changed the day all by yourself just by showing up and raising some hell. But I guarantee you, everybody involved you can trust. If you get involved with your local Democratic Party and you help, we're going to have the next show is going to be about the first half of the next show is going to be about these special elections, the candidates in them. We're going to talk about how we can get involved there because, folks, we can literally flip Congress. 2 of these seats, it's a tie. Everything has to be broken. JD Vance has to literally break every single tie just by flipping 2 of the seats. If we flip all 3, we control the House. It's a big freaking deal. All hands on deck. AJC, thank you for the support. Thank you for the support. I appreciate you. Look, I've said this before. If you follow me on other social media platforms, I've said this before. It's not a lot of people. Elon Musk and his kids, and yes, he brought in kids to gain his access, because kids, look, I want you to think back to when you were 20, 21, you're 19. One of them's 19 years old that he's got working over at Doug. 19 years old. Gregory Brown, I think the executive branch is going to be a smoldering heap by September. It is going to there's going to be a lot that we have to fix. Yeah, I've never sat here and told you this is going to be great. We're going to just fix we're going to win and there's going to be no problems. That's not true. This is going to suck. They're going to do a lot of damage. But you have to keep in mind what I was just saying. Thank you for the support. I really appreciate you. There's only a handful of them. We're talking about a couple broligarchs here. You notice Jeff Bezos has gotten completely silent. They have figured out they didn't overrun our government. It's still here. And they have figured out that we're not defeated, despite what the bots are telling you on social media about, oh, woe is me. We can't do anything. Trump is too powerful. Might as well not vote. That's bullshit. That's bots. Josh Hedges, get registered, get organized. Every special election for the midterms to retake sanity and our government. This is how we fight. Great segue. God, I love you people. I love you people. Great segue. Flip those seats. Put Spanner in agenda. Put a wrench in the agenda, right? Spanners, wrench, spanner, same word. Druggist of dragons, retail alchemist. How do you think the intelligence agencies or of our allies, Interpol, are being affected by Musk meddling? I don't know. They're talking about bringing charges against Elon Musk. I think they've got an understanding of what he's doing. Hi, Mr. Paul. I'm glad about the lawsuits. However, aren't the bulk of these lawsuits going to be absorbed by the rogue Fifth Circuit? No. Bald Thanos, I wonder if Republicans in Congress would feel the same way of a billionaire in control of the Treasury if it was George Soros and not Elon Musk. Exactly why I was telling you, no, the courts are not going to just carte blanche say this is cool, because they have to face the fact that they will not hold power forever. And they don't want this to be the standard. They just don't. So let's talk about it. We've got special elections, then we have midterms. We're not even 2 years away from midterms, folks. We're 19 months away from midterm elections. And a year of that is campaigning. So what do we have? We've got, over the next couple months, No Money G heard from 3 YouTube people who are saying Trump is doing all of this to get us fired up protesting so he can declare martial law and take over as a dictator. That is a danger. That is why you're not hearing old Texas Paul saying, hit the streets, burn it all down. No, I'm saying be very careful, because what you've got Hakeem Jeffries, who's already said this debt ceiling, we're shutting it all down. March. Democrats said, we're shutting it all down. Either you undo what you're doing with USAid, or there is no debt ceiling raise. We will shut it all down. Which is just brilliant. Brilliant. Using the Republicans' tactic against them. Shutting down the government, 100%. That is how you fight. That's how you get it done. Are we going to get everything we want? No. The Republicans never did when they pulled this shit. We're not going to get everything we want either. And as soon as we don't get everything we want, a bunch of fake ass, never voted Democrats, bullshit assholes on social media are going to talk about they sold out. Them Democrats can't fight. No. Nobody ever gets everything they want. Not out of the legislature, but they are going to get us some of it back. And that's what the next 2 years is going to look like. And it's going to be even better if you get your ass out and vote in these upcoming elections. It ain't over, folks. We're not done by a damn sight. If anyone, E.T., my brother, thank you for doing this. If anyone is at any of the state capitol protests, please be sure to record it and later post it online. Watch for fake tweets and record them. Amen. Amen. Have your phone out constantly. This is why I'm saying, folks, I am not attacking the protests or the people organizing them. I'm saying what I've seen to date is a lot of freaking grifting going on and a lot of right-wing manipulation. And I've seen the trolls go super, super active in spreading that message that, oh, woe is me, the Democrats are terrible. There's no point in voting. It's all done. There's nothing we can do. You've seen it all. If your vote wasn't going to change the face of our country this April, they wouldn't be paying for the bots to push those messages. They wouldn't waste their time. They wouldn't have to. And while all of this is going on, to give you an idea of exactly how weak they know they are, this is what Trump is doing. Trump is golfing. Trump is staying at arm's distance. They're letting us know that it's outside interest writing these executive orders. When they cross that line and the backlash happens, Trump is going to sit there and come riding back to the White House and say, it wasn't me. It was that damn Elon Musk and them crazies. It wasn't me. Wasn't me. And you're going to hear out of Republicans in Congress, oh, it wasn't us. None of this was done through the legislature. It was all executive order. That's that damn deep state. Them Democrats did it. They're going to. They're going to, at one point or another, go to their people and tell their people that we're the ones actually doing all the shit that we're seeing them do. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. But I have to tell you, this day of reckoning is coming sooner rather than later. We are in a trade war, folks. Even though Trump said, oh, I'm going to pause the tariffs on Mexico and Canada because I won. I got them to do what I wanted to do, which was bullshit, because all they did was say, okay, we'll do all the shit that we're already doing. Trump said, I want 10,000 troops at the border. Mexico said, okay, no problem. Because we agreed 6 months ago to send 15. 10 works for us. It's 5,000 less. Okay, we're already doing that shit. And Trump went, I won. I did it. I won. Look at what I did. Same thing with Canada. Justin Trudeau picked up the phone, called Donald Trump and said, read their current border initiative, what they're already doing. We're going to do this, 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 and this. And Trump said, oh, I made that happen. I made that happen. When it's a matter of public record that Canada was already doing all of it. What hasn't changed, Trump said, okay, we're going to pause the tariffs on Mexico and Canada, and the markets went, whew. What didn't happen is he didn't pause the tariffs on China. We are in a legitimate trade war with China right now, today. China just retaliated. And we talked about it in the past, and I kind of glossed over this in the last show and didn't really explain it. Had some people email me, and when I said why these tariffs are so bad is because you can get them in easily. Getting them out is damn near impossible. Again, this is why, because one of the Republicans' talking points was, if them Trump tariffs were so bad, why is Joe Biden still using them? Why are they still? Joe Biden didn't take them away. If they were bad, they'd repeal them. No, it doesn't work that way, because you put the tariff in place and then the markets adjust for them. If you go peel the tariff away after everybody's acclimated to them, you're literally incentivizing the person that you're having trade disputes with. Imagine walking into a negotiation and saying, okay, but before we negotiate, here's all of this advantage. I mean, plus paying the political price of going to the legislature and saying, look, we're going to repeal this tariff. Let's repeal this tariff on China. You love China. He loves our enemy. He loves our enemy. Yeah, once you get them in, they're damn near impossible to ferret back out. Everything Trump does here is a tax on you basically forever. And that's why they folded on Canada and Mexico, just being humiliated, just being absolutely humiliated. Everyone pointed out the fact that Trump got nothing for all of this. All he did was hurt the markets for nothing. The reality is, he's doing that whole, the same thing he did with the infrastructure. We'll have an infrastructure bill in 2 weeks. We'll have a healthcare bill in 2 weeks. We're going to have Mexico and Canada tariffs next month, March. The fact is, it's an acknowledgement that he cannot have a trade war with China, with Canada, and with Mexico at the same time. It was all bullshit talk. You're talking about immediate destruction to the world economy. But in the meantime, he can hurt himself. He can hurt us. He can hurt our government. He can hurt the CIA. He can hurt our military. He can hurt our ability to influence policy around the world. He can make children starve. He can shut down hospitals and let disease spread rampant. And they're doing it. They are doing it. Trump shanking his best friend Labradoodle neighbor makes trusting the USA very hard. The enemies of the free world is the winner. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the other thing that he's done here. Who the hell is going to trust us in any negotiation in the future? Our word is useless. Trump just went back on his own trade deal. The USMCA, that was Trump's. Remember, we talked about how it's just freaking NAFTA with a few tweaks in it. Could have been a negotiation, but Trump wanted it to be his baby. He wanted his name on it. He just undercut his own trade deal. Who the hell would ever trust us going forward? Mike Bundy, crawfish. And yes, folks, this is a problem. What Trump is doing is illegal. It is. It's illegal. It's a crime. It's just as if the sun comes up in the east and sets in the west, the sky is blue, grass is green. It's a crime. The New York Times just ran a story where they said, well, some people say it's a crime, but the government, Trump, says it isn't. Not your freaking job, New York Times. Your job, if somebody says it's raining and another person says it isn't, it's your job to stick your head out the fucking window and see if it's raining. It's a crime. Everything he's doing violates the Impoundment Act of 1974. Everything he's doing. To explain what I mean there for folks that weren't here for last week, thank you for sticking with me. To explain why it's a crime in the simplest term, there is no authority, and it's been ruled on even by this Supreme Court, members of our own Supreme Court. The president does not have the authority as part of a co-equal branch to Congress to say, we don't like what Congress is doing, we're not going to do it. The president is an administrator, not a king. If Congress says, do this, the president's job is to do that. And if he disagrees, his ability to change that is very clearly dictated that he must go back to Congress and tell Congress, I don't like that. Stop doing that, pass legislation. And Congress will either say, okay, and pass legislation, or they'll say, no, we said what we said. What you're seeing here is the Republicans trying to have their cake and eat it too. They don't want to be held responsible for all of these things. They just don't. They don't want to have to pass legislation. They don't want to have to face their own voters to say, yeah, we starved kids so that the richest guy on earth could get more tax cuts. Yeah, we made your banking information vulnerable and put it in the hands of a 19-year-old hacker because we didn't want to have to come back and say, we don't want to do this anymore. It's a crime. It's literally a crime. But as John Kennedy said, Republicans aren't going to do shit about it. So what is your remedy? If they commit crimes and an entire party says, okay, vote. That's it. That's your only avenue right now, today. Stephen Leach, I don't know how to explain it to you any clearer. I don't. None of this is being done through the legislature. Every Democrat is standing up and saying this is a crime. The remedy for that is to impeach the president. Until you vote and give Democrats power to do that, it's not going to happen. And you can shit in one hand and wish in the other, but I can promise you which hand is going to fill up first. I love you, folks. That's what I have for you today. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.